This episode of Capes and Lunatics is brought to you by Tweaked Audio. Get awesome headphones, go to tweakedaudio.com and use the coupon code Southgate to get 30% off, free shipping, and a lifetime warranty. Or you can get there through the link on our website, southgatemediagroup.com.
This is Luca Perich, and you're listening to the Capes and Lunatics podcast.
This is Comics Illustrator Ron Friends, and you're listening to the Capes and Lunatics podcast.
There's a thin line between heroism and madness.
Here the line fades to nothing at all.
This is a world of capes and lunatics.
And nothing is off limits.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Capes and Lunatics. I am Phil, joining me as always, that immortal prince from New Jersey, it is
Charlie, the Professor Essa, mustache and co.
And the warrior woman of Florida herself.
Hey y'all, it's Lil Telfair.
And hey, look, beaming in from another universe, it is...
It's Tyler from the Krypton Report, broadcasting from my home planet.
That's right.
Come back and now.
It's 4th of July weekend. It really wasn't Marvel or DC Comics this week, so we decided we're going to do another character deep dive, this time on the Mighty Thor. All versions.
I'm just going to do spoilers. Okay? I'm just going to say Chris Hemsworth has done a lot for the character. All I'm going to say. He's done a lot for the character.
He's done a lot for the character for Lilith, I'm sure.
For a lot of people, not just me.
Actually,
Chris Hemsworth is even my favorite Hemsworth brother, is all that I'm saying.
Oh!
And he's done a lot for the character, okay?
It's the third Hemsworth. You know, the one that played Thor in the play in Ragnarok.
Oh, yeah, he's the third brother, yeah.
Lilith, just because you asked us to remind you, can anyone get it this week?
You guys forgot to mention it on Super Connectivity, apparently. I'm sorry. It might be a little insensitive or too soon, but hey, Phil Coulson is single, guys. I'm just saying. Phil Coulson can get it.
Yes, unfortunately, Gregg and, Jennifer Gregg got divorced, so yes, Lil, Mr. Gregg, if you need some consoling, Lilith is there in Florida for you.
Now, you can definitely at me.
Whoa!
Anyway, seriously, condolences, but things happen. Yeah. They were adults about it. One of the most amicable divorces I've seen in Hollywood so far. So, that's nice that they can be mature about it.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Oh, I just saw a breaking news thing. Rob put it up. I guess Birds of Prey 2 is dead. Birds of Prey 2 movie is dead in the water.
Duh, but we're going to get another Harley Quinn movie. Because they love Margot Robbie for some reason.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said before, the problem, Birds of Prey should have been
a Birds of Prey movie.
It should have been
not
Birds
with Harley
of Prey versus the Gotham City Sirens or something like that. And done like just an all-female villain hero film. And not try to do this weird background
mismatch
Harley Quinn movie with origin of the Birds of Prey, because in this day and age you're not guaranteed any sequels, and it's like everybody wants to take their time with these origin films to build up to the characters or the stories that we really want to see, but you're not guaranteed that story, and so you end up wasting our time because you didn't do the story people really wanted to see. We're not going to get a chance to see it.
Justice for Ian McGregor in the DC universe.
What I will say is, you can tell an origin story. Just tell the origin story, and don't graft something onto it that you did not need.
Right?
Like every movie ever, though, that's an origin story kind of story.
Think about it like this. Okay, you have two movies that are kind of origin films. You have Batman '89 and you have Batman Begins. Okay, Batman Begins worked partially as well as it did because it was a reboot origin film. We had already had, Batman, and it had been, some time had passed. It was a different take, and it was a new style and a new reboot. But you can do a film like in the vein of Batman '89. That was an origin film. It wasn't a detailed origin film, but it was Batman starting out. You could do something like that with, the Birds of Prey or something. We didn't need, it was a mismatch that we didn't need.
The advantage of Batman for an origin character is that his origin is my parents were shot, now I'm Batman. So it really, there's not a lot to it. So you have you throw some pearls on the ground,
But because he doesn't have superhuman powers, it takes a bit, they want to, that's a little bit of, you got to suspend a lot of disbelief.
Well, yeah, but he's Batman. First off,
you do need a little bit more.
Got to get the half.
Know who he is.
Got to get the half-hour training montage,
Yeah, it's just the thing that you expect, and no Batman, unlike Spider-Man fans, no Batman fan ever says. They did shove it in a long, bloated Zack Snyder movie, but but most of the time we don't complain about the origin for Batman. We just don't.
Well, yeah, but again,
everybody complains about the Wayne murders. We've seen those on film. Like I counted them one time. Hold on, live action Wayne.
You're gonna gun down Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
I'm gonna say I don't mind seeing the Waynes get shot repeatedly because
secretly they deserved it.
But
is it 5 times? Is it 5 times or 6?
Yeah, but it's the fact that, like I said, I think Batman works well. You can reboot Batman easily because his story is easy to reboot. You could probably do that with Superman. You can do Superman with him showing up in Metropolis on the first day. People forget, really, most of these characters' origins were a one-panel splash page.
And I mean, exactly. Batman and Superman have been around for 80-some years. It's
Yeah, exactly. And for what it's worth, that's why they didn't need to do it with the Spider-Man, which they did when they put him in Avengers.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Looking at Spider-Man Homecoming, there's quick dialogue reference in Homecoming and a little bit in Civil War, just kind of to how he came
people
to
had an uproar about that. The Uncle Ben thing, people did have an uproar in that particular case.
People have an uproar. There's always going to be an uproar.
I mean, just do like they did in the Incredible Hulk movie. Just have like a montage in the credits, Uncle Ben getting shot, him catching the burglar. Just,
Yeah, well, it is what it is.
But I'm so glad. That gives me hope. I don't even know why we're doing Suicide Squad 2, to be fair. We don't need it. Nobody wants it.
Because DC thought they could get a Marvel person to make a movie for them, and they got very excited.
For Joss Whedon now did it.
Oh,
and this is a good argument to be made, actually. That it's not the leader, it's the team. Despite what Santa Claus says in the Teen Titans, that it's it's not the leader that makes the team, it's the team that makes the great leader. And if you have a good team,
which obviously they don't.
Well, exactly. But I mean, I'm sure James Gunn will be fine. But people forget the guy cut his teeth on trauma films, which are not known for being great.
Yeah.
Lovingly, they're not known for being great.
And I love Trauma. Can grow and become great in their own right, even in a genre change. Look at Sam Raimi. Honestly, I it might be the nostalgia talking. I give the first Spider-Man trilogy guff, but for the time, they're good movies, and he came from horror. So I'm just saying, you can do it.
It helps if the person actually likes the series that they're working on.
Touche.
That is another.
Touche.
I mean, you're talking about genre changing. I mean, just real quick. I mean, look at your more recent DC was James Wan directing Aquaman.
Yep.
Who's known
as the horror film people? Yes.
They got David F. Sandberg.
Big budget. Yes.
Yeah.
David F. Sandberg did Shazam. He's done horror, and then if it ever gets made, we'll whatever. But supposedly Andrew Muschietti is up for Flash, and he's done horror.
Everyone's been up for Flash. Everyone's been up for Flash.
Heck, I heard Charlie Esser was going to be directing Flash at this point.
I'll take the job. I'm going to reboot it, I'll keep Ezra Miller. Don't if they really want him, I'll keep him.
For these directors,
we're losing you, Tyler.
I think he's getting armadillos in his junction box.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If it gets made, whatever. But just the pattern.
They can hear you.
I mean, I got a good idea. I'll do it. I mean, I got a cool pitch, but it's whatever. At this point.
At the end of the day, I think that really DC should be willing to do soft reboots on everybody. Go back, tell us the Flash origin story. You know,
Charlie, can they throw the baby out with the bathwater yet? Because
it's whatever.
Like you know,
like I told you guys before, like with the DC.
I don't know if he's delayed or.
Yeah, I think someone at DC really likes Ezra Miller. And he may be a great guy.
On them. It's not. Look, listen. It's not. In this age in 2020, it's not because they like you. It's because you know something, you saw something, and they can't figure out how to get rid of you yet.
Whoa!
What's going on?
Yeah, I mean that's an entire possibility. You know,
these entertainment industry relationships are not built on family ties and nepotism anymore. Honestly, I just want to go back to that system at that point. Never thought I'd say it, but at this point, missed the old film system.
Yeah, well, but in the old days, the studios had the blackmail, and that's how they kept their stars in line.
Exactly.
Now that if stars had the blackmail stuff on their studios, that just disrupts the whole system.
And that's why I'm just saying, think about it. Might be what's going on nowadays. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah. Like, to me, I didn't mind Ezra Miller as Flash. I'll say it. I didn't mind him.
You can leave now, sir.
I mean, I don't mind him. I don't mind the character of Flash. Like, I get what they were going for, that he needs to be younger, quirky, more relatable in the Justice League where everybody's pretty much older, but I don't like that actor. Flat out.
Okay, well, that's fine. I mean, I like the idea of Flash being, like, kind of energetic and bubbly. Kind of like Seth Green's Kid Flash in Teen Titans Go. If you ever see Seth Green do Wally West on Teen Titans Go, it's a really great take on Wally West, especially if you want Wally West to be kind of a jerk who can back it up, which I think
that's what he's been in the animated shows, so yeah, I get it.
Yeah, it's like, and of course that's usually what Robin's shtick is, but of course they kind of nerf Robin in Teen Titans Go. Although not always. Yeah.
No.
Well, because Robin is basically teenage Batman, and he's always so good at everything, and just to have him get hoisted by his own petard from time to time is kind of fun in its own delightful way. But talking about good adaptations of characters. Can I talk about the return of the Incredible Hulk?
Yes.
The first live action appearance of Thor by the incredible Eric Kramer.
Yes.
Yeah, let's talk.
Let's get some Thor.
Okay.
That's what we're here for.
Too
yes.
bad it didn't come out on Thursday.
Yes.
Thank you, Matt Kona.
Yes, but Jack McGee is not in this very much. He's much more in the Trial of the Incredible Hulk.
Is he in the Trial of the Incredible Hulk? McGee?
I want to say he was.
Oh, was he? Okay, maybe it was the last one he wasn't in. I know there was at least one in this.
He wasn't in.
Okay.
Because actually, I think Jack Colvin had passed away by the time they did the Death of the Incredible Hulk.
Spoilers.
Yeah, I mean, I could be mistaken on that, or maybe it was vice versa, and then then Bill Bixby died too. So
yeah,
everyone was dying in the '80s. Man, it was like the, as it turns out, beloved actors keep on dying every decade.
Speaking of Lilith, you still have all your fingers, right?
Yes.
No, just like I said in the last episode, count them before and count them after. If you have the same number, you did it right.
Hopefully she's not too drunk to count her fingers.
Screwed something up. Go to the hospital. Yes. So here, let me read it.
Yes.
The Incredible Hulk returns. Hopefully, on the verge of curing his Hulk condition, Banner meets his colleague Don Blake, who is mystically linked to Viking warrior Thor. Our director of this episode is Nicholas Correa and Bill Bixby. Our writers are, of course, Stan Lee, who gets the character credit, and Nicholas Correa, who gets our written by. David Banner plays the Hulk. Bill Bixby plays David Banner. Lou Ferrigno plays the Hulk. Jack Colvin is our Jack McGee. Lee Purcell is Maggie Shaw. Charles Napier is Mike Fauci. And John Gabriel is Joshua Lambert. Jay Baker is Zach Lambert. Tim Thompson, that's who I couldn't recognize. Tim Thompson is Jack LeBeau. And introducing Eric Kramer as Thor, and Steve Levitt as Donald Blake. So this is neat, especially because it ties into this idea of it makes for an interesting story, because as we will know, throughout most of the 70s and early 80s, Banner would luck into jobs by basically lying his butt off on his resume, and no one would check it out. This one opens up by basically saying, yeah, the guys in charge know absolutely that Banner, he's on the run, everything he's given them is fake. That's fine. They don't care. It's like he's doing a great job with advanced gamma decay. And he's built a device that will do what they want to, and then also do this other thing that will theoretically cure him of being the Hulk. And then as he's about to cure himself, and it's interesting because he has a woman that he loves here. And here's what I'm going to tell you. This is why Banner has finally gotten smart and realized, if I tell someone my secret, they will be dead. So this is like the first time he ever fell in love with a woman, doesn't tell her the secret, and she has lived for years now. The entire time he's been here, she's been alive, she's been safe.
I love that part of the movie. It's like, during that series, he would change if someone didn't answer the phone quick enough. He would change into the Hulk, but he's gone years without changing.
Yeah. Well, he's ever since marriage, he has gotten more and more control over the Hulk. Could be that too, though they're not in Hawaii anymore. I always wonder how he got to Hawaii in that. I mean, he obviously had to, but it's like, did he hop a tramp steamer? Did they still have tramp steamers then? Although I always fall back on the idea that he's got money in a Swiss account. It was hard to access in the 70s, so that's why he always winds up without a lot of money.
I just wonder if maybe he traded passage on a fishing boat as, working as a fisherman or something, or,
Yeah, but that's not exactly a low-stress lifestyle. That's
I
the
know.
only thing. That's the only thing with all of it. It's not a low-stress lifestyle. It's like that's the thing. It's like, it made sense with him to turn into the Hulk a lot, because he was basically living a hobo life, which is a very, very stressful way to live. But this is not about the Hulk. We may do a Hulk deep dive someday.
Maybe he just jumped. He got really angry one day and just jumped. Did you ever think about that?
Well, no, the Hulk could have, but why is the Hulk doing that for... I guess he could have woken up one day in Hawaii. Because
he's like, this is the life, man. I mean, it's not Vegas, but it's the life, man.
Yeah, honestly, I could see the Hulk being very happy in one of the little tropical volcanic islands, Hulk like nature. But anyway, this is about
Hulk Island instead of Planet Hulk.
They could have done it. We have in this one, and this is the first time another Marvel character interacts with the Hulk in the 70s universe, and it was clear they were building a 80s. It was clear that's what Stan wanted,
Avenger.
And he had talked them into it, and that's why we get Daredevil later. Honestly, I really wish they would have brought in Red Brown. There was talk about bringing in a Spider-Man if they could get the rights to merge Spider-Man into this universe. Then Bill Bixby died, and so it never went beyond just idle chit-chat between all the between Hammer and Ferrigno and the powers that be. But in this one, Donald Blake, who we find out is a former student of David Banner's. And he was Donald Blake's favorite scientist. And, when he finds David Banner alive, which is kind of interesting, and it is this idea that there is this strong mystical element where he is drawn to things, that clearly Odin is controlling everything that's going on here.
I find it interesting that they had Banner turn into the Hulk here instead of, in the comics, Don Blake would be, transform into Thor. In this, he summoned Thor, so they were both physically present.
Well, and the reason why is I believe at this point, I don't think Thor was still turning into Don Blake.
No.
And this is actually essentially where we get this idea that Don Blake is a separate person.
Mm-hmm.
Because when Thor stopped turning into Don Blake, it basically just, Don Blake don't exist no more.
Oh, yeah, because, they had done that, years before they even got rid of Don Blake. It was just Odin created this fake person for Thor to turn into, to teach him humility,
The ultimate catfish.
In that point in time, Thor still had all of Don Blake's memories. Because I remember times where he would say, I have the knowledge of, I'm also a medical doctor.
Yeah.
Because he still had all of Don Blake's memories. But the idea that Thor and Don Blake are separate people, which now is canon, that Thor and Don Blake are separate people, is kind of, again, where you get an idea that's kind of thrown out in a kind of a silly way or something that is not as respected, actually winds up becoming canonical. So I love that aspect of it. I love the antagonism between them. And I like the fact that essentially Don Blake has the same power problem that Thor had, which is too much pride and too much, what's the word I'm looking for? Too much,
arrogance?
Too much willingness to cause... Yeah, too much arrogance. Yeah, I hate to use pride and arrogance because they're both kind of the same thing. But, as Banner tells him at one point, it's like, look, I can't control what happens to me. Thor only comes because you call him, And he said, yeah, I've tried to get rid of the hammer. I've tried to do this and that. He said, yeah, but you keep on bringing him out. So if you're going to say Thor causes chaos, well, you're the one that's bringing Thor. Why don't you talk to him for a bit? And we get into this whole thing, which is like my favorite thing is when Don Blake actually talks to Thor, and Thor is explaining to him what it's like to be dead, but not be in Valhalla, to be, just a place of darkness
in a void, yeah.
Yeah, no arms, no
Sometimes
legs.
the void is fun. Don't be talking trash.
Yeah, you sit in one for 5,000 years without or 2,000 years without a beer and tell me how fun it was. So,
do it.
With no alcohol, Lilith?
Yeah. I can do it.
Okay,
sure.
Well, maybe you could, Lilith. That's not what Thor likes to do. And that's the thing is he's like,
no,
because Don Blake doesn't let him eat, doesn't let him drink. So it's like
no internet.
Every time he comes out, he says, "Give me something to drink. I want something to drink. I have not had a drink in literally thousands of years." But Don Blake never heard that. Well, or anything, or just food, or just
the never-ending Lent.
Yeah, it was. Thor's gone through some stuff, man. That's all I'm saying. And I like that aspect. This was actually, I feel, better written than the Trial of the Incredible Hulk. I really feel this really set up in a great way this new Hulk or this new Thor dynamic. And I would love, again, and I've said I'd love to see the Hulk of, I would love to see, the McGee files or something like that, because really they set it up that, okay, McGee's going to be in the Thor stories, that McGee is going to keep on following Thor, because this is a new story, and there's definitely something going on here with this Viking that keeps on showing up with superhuman strength and calling down lightning and the likes like that. So,
yeah, I did get that vibe even back then that they were trying to spin off Thor and Daredevil and then their own things.
Oh yeah, they were definitely meant to be. Like I said, this was meant to be an expansive Hulkiverse. The Hulk was going to be this connective tissue, a Nick Fury type, if you will. Batman or Superman or Zatanna or anyone. Could someone please be connective tissue? Batman. Why Wonder Woman isn't the connective tissue, I don't know.
Well, now she is. Just saying.
It's going to have to be now.
She could be, but they haven't even suggested that. It's like...
No, they kind of sort of have.
Well...
Let's just say like Arrow was on TV. It was the connective tissue. That's why every new show spun out of Arrow, except for Supergirl, because it was on a different network originally.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a different universe.
And we all knew that it belonged on the CW. But CBS tried it. They tried it.
And they eventually got it there. So, and all things, all's well that ends well. But yeah, so I like it. There's a great "Have we tried killing them yet?" plotline.
Of course.
You gotta have one of those.
That's that universe, of course it is.
Especially in the sense that, Joshua Lambert actually does, or not Joshua Lambert, Zachary Lambert actually does get killed by the people he partners with after they kidnap Dr. Shaw. That they basically said, okay, well, we'll just kill him and continue the thing and still sell it for a profit or ransom, whichever comes first, We'll steal the machine, we'll kidnap Banner, who created it, and we will take care of it. And it's, honestly, I highly recommend anyone go back and find it. It is a great film. You get some fantastic stuff with Thor. And it's interesting because, of course, yes, it's very different than the Thor we know in comics, but it's interesting enough that you could see how it could play into something more and be more myth oriented, because clearly it is magic. Clearly, it is a different type of connection between Thor and Donald Blake, and really should have gotten the chance that it never got. But it gave us Eric Kramer, and he's done a lot of great things. Levitt, sadly, has not done a lot. Or maybe most of what he does is behind the scenes. He does not have his picture on IMDb.
Interesting. Neither does Lilith. Look.
Yeah, so, his last item was the TV movie Danger Team. He was in a 1989 film called The Boys. He was in Get Smart Again as Beamish. He did work in the 80s, but yeah, it doesn't look like he's worked a lot. He was in Airplane 2. He was a student in Bill. Yeah, he was in a couple episodes of Hardcastle and McCormick, it looks like. He played Ivan and Peter Trigg in 2 separate episodes. He was in the Paper Chase series, the TV series in 1986. He was in 13 episodes of that. So I guess that was his.
You never saw him again?
I was going to say, he might have did his 80s work, and then he was like, I'm retiring.
Yeah, he might have been done, But he was also in, because he was in one of those late night films that I used to love and still do, called Blue Movie, that I saw after this. Oh, it's Don Blake from Incredible Hulk Returns, and also. I like that one because they had the actor who played the professor from Gilligan's Island as kind of like a mobster in it, so that was pretty cool.
Nice.
So,
yeah, sorry.
Yes, but that was our good friend Steve Levitt. Eric Kramer went on to do a lot of things. Interestingly enough, he actually it was just a weird thing my mom noticed when she watched it. Is that he had very well manicured hands, and she felt that took her out of the character. That his hands were so well manicured. I actually think Eric Allen Kramer is gay, so I don't know if that was something that was related to that, but it makes for an interesting note on it. And he's actually still working to this day. Right now, he was Kurt on Fuller House. He's Kendall's dad on 911. He is Coach Carlock on Sydney to the Max. He is Scott Miller on Lodge 49. He plays Carol Wilkes in On Becoming a God in Central Florida. Oh, so I didn't know there was a TV series about Lilith. And so Eric Allen Kramer, he's working his butt off every day, and we are thankful for that. And got his start right there in The Incredible Hulk Returns.
Man, the 70s and 80s were weird.
Yeah.
Well, there was a great point in this where, like, that Don Blake makes the point in talking to David Banner about Thor, and he says, it's the 80s. I don't even know the difference between right and wrong anymore. But this guy, he does. He knows right and wrong. He knows to smite evildoers. And so it really made me say, I really would have loved to have seen this as a series. So.
Oh, yeah.
But what never was, unless they bring it back in comic book form someday.
I mean, hey, Batman 66 and Wonder Woman 77 got their comic book stuff and did really good. So
I know, maybe. And I don't. Yeah, I'm guessing there's rights issues because Hulk and TV Hulk and
Yeah,
that's why they didn't.
Batman 66 had that problem too. So
there's
hope.
Wasn't that the whole thing for years? Yeah, 66 had issues because like different people own different rights to different stuff.
Because they just sold it off willy nilly at any place they could. Yeah.
Same thing
for you, Charlie. Just be patient.
Okay. Same thing with Superman 50s.
Yeah.
They wanted to do a George Reeves comic book series, but there was something I can't remember what it was now, but like the rights issues and everything, they weren't able to. Some of his likenesses was one thing. There was some other stuff too, but it would be great. Some of these what if stories, if they would come out like in a continued comic book series or something.
Yeah. Yeah, well, like I said, the McGee Files really writes itself if you ever wanted to explore that, and that would be such a great Marvel book. I'm available, Marvel, if you're interested.
But yeah, I just wanted to jump in the comics a little bit because Charlie did mention Don Blake. Like I was telling him before we jumped on, I was like, part of my reading was the first appearance of Beta Ray Bill, which was like Walt Simonson's when he started on Thor.
Which, according to Reddit, is like the best. Everybody else can go home, and I'm like, y'all ain't got no taste. I mean, it's good.
It's good,
but y'all ain't got no taste.
But I mean, that's where they get rid of the Don Blake thing. Because I mean, Thor already knows Don Blake's just like an artificial identity and stuff. And then at the end, like when Odin gives Beta Ray Bill his, that's Stormbreaker right there. Yeah, that's Beta Ray Bill's hammer, and he takes the Blake enchantment and gives it to Beta Ray Bill so he can transform because he's been genetically engineered by his people to protect them. So. Because his people don't naturally have that horse face. What? No, he's just able to turn back into his original form because he was like basically a cyborg at this point because his people don't have that horse face. So he's like my people are proud that I protect them, but like no one can like look me in the eye and stuff. Yeah. So Odin gives him that enchantment that he can turn back into his original form, and even Thor's like, what about Blake?
Yeah, well, exactly.
Which again, I mean, it comes up.
What about him?
It comes up. Yeah, it comes up years later.
Shooting mortals.
It comes up years later during Eric Masterson's run as Thor. It's just like, oh yeah, one day Blake just disappeared. No one's been able to find him.
Yeah.
But just reading this, and I saw like I wanted to read some of my favorite stories, and it seemed like most of them, it's like Beta Ray Bill, Eric Masterson as Thor, and later Thunderstrike, even Jane Foster Thor.
Who has that problem with secondary characters? I'm just saying.
I think especially with Thor, that's what I think I like the spin-off characters more than the original Thor. I don't know if it's just that they're mortal, and I just think
more relatable. Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, let's face it, Loki made the Thor films. In fact, one thing I'll tell you, want to know why Dark World didn't do as well? Less Loki. You don't? You try to make it about Thor. Thor films aren't about Thor. Thor films are about
Captain America. Exactly.
A plot would help too.
Well, there was a plot of such.
Actually, making the Dark Elves sweet would have helped, and less of Jane and less of Darcy would have helped a lot too.
Jane is the Abby of the Marvel Universe. Changed my mind.
Oh,
actually, I think people love Darcy, and everybody
loves Darcy. Darcy
I think Watiti.
Mew Mew.
I think Watiti would have loved to work more with Darcy. I think those two would have made great comedy together.
I mean,
justice for Kat Dennings.
I mean, she might be back. Have they said
it?
Back
in Thor 4.
Yeah, Love and Thunder. Yeah, because I mean, it's a Jane Foster story, so it's like, why not?
Yeah, I think that's going to be a good story. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to all the things that Taki's going to be doing with these characters, because as we see, he's great with all the side characters. In Ragnarok, it's Hulk, it's Banner, and it's Loki, and it's the even freaking Grandmaster. We'll call it a draw.
I mean, we could even do another Ragnarok. You know how many Ragnaroks they've done in the comics?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's we're going to rebuild Asgard. And, when Jane picks up the reconstituted hammer, who knows what happens?
I mean, what was it like around?
I think the first movie's the best. Though I'm not gonna lie. I think the first movie's the third movie's fun and it's humorous, and you obviously see that they hit their stride. But I don't know. There's something kind of charming about the first movie.
I get the story, but it's it's like you don't get a lot of like. Well, you do get Thor in the story, but he doesn't have his powers for most of it.
Thor,
that's the selling.
Oh, okay.
But it's a good origin for Thor.
It is a good.
It's more relatable.
It's also a smaller film if you think about it. It's not a huge global scale. They're in a smaller location. It is a little bit more of a personal story, and you're building the foundation of all this. And the thing is, yes, Thor 3 is fun, but in a lot of ways, how much of a departure is it from the characters from the comics?
Yeah.
Well, that's the MCU. That's a whole different bag of hammers.
No.
But I'm just saying,
hammers.
If you watch Thor, if you just watch the 3 Thor movies, like they're not really a really good trilogy.
It's like Supernatural, Tyler. It just keeps escalating and escalating.
Yes.
And it just feels like a hillbilly Dragon Ball at that point.
I mean, yeah. I mean, because if you watch just the 3 Thor movies, the tone, the shift of characters are so broad that it feels almost like disconnected because there's so much of his story that appear in the Avengers films and his growth as a character to get to Ragnarok.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think each of the stories do serve to be their own standalone.
Yeah.
In that way, because of it. It's not an interconnected trilogy like Star Wars. It is 3 great films featuring Thor at different points in his journey.
I think each film is like a product of its of when it comes in the Marvel universe.
Each
like
phase of the
the first one, there really weren't that many movies. The second, you're starting to ramp up. The third, I mean, we're all in this whole big universe. I mean, out of the 3 trilogies we've gotten so far in the MCU, I think the Iron Man one is probably the most standalone that you could watch all 3 movies.
And grounded, yeah.
Well, that's because it's also the first.
Yeah, and again, 1, 2, and 3 all came pretty early too.
Yeah, I think you'd do the same thing with First Avenger. You know.
Well, yeah, I mean, Cap 1 and 2 you can kind of do self-contained, but 3, I mean, everyone's in 3, so.
Well, yeah, when you get to Cap 3 is
Civil War.
Essentially
Captain America is also one of those characters who his story is really not about him. It's just kind of like we got to get to this point and you need a little backstory. But hey, here's some fun side characters. What up, Peggy?
Well, and for what it's worth, Captain America is a Paragon character. He doesn't have a hero's journey. He's already done his hero's journey. He's done, but now his job is actually, as the star, he's also there to help everyone else on their hero's journey. So he actually is, yes, he is a protagonist.
But especially, I find it just really interesting how they did it because at that time, Captain America stock had been so down, and they were really worried about whether it was going to make money or not. Like, it was a whole big thing about that whole Captain America First Avenger thing. So
I know, but
they pulled it off.
Here's what I'll say about Captain America is he is, and here's what I think Captain America First Avenger is a great film. I think it actually did very well.
I think all the movies are great, especially how they kind of changed genre for the MCU. It kind of, I like that they did that.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's the advantage of, the MCU. They are willing to play with their characters. They're willing to say, you know what, Captain America isn't Thor. And so Thor's movie, we're going to get Kenneth Branagh to do Thor, because Kenneth Branagh, and I think Kenneth Branagh did a great job with the first Thor. I was kind of sad they didn't bring him back for more, but, whatever. Politics. And I'm sure Kenneth Branagh's got his own. I'm sure there's scandals galore for him, too.
I mean,
all your faves are problematic. It's just the degree of problematic you're willing to put up with.
I mean, I think that's the success of the formula. It's like all those first couple origin stories, they had different people directing them, so they each had like their own different vibe or flavor. Yeah, but now it's like a unified universe. So you had the Russos for how long and stuff. I mean, it kind of makes sense. And again, I mean, First Avenger, I love that movie. It's great, but I mean, it did its job. I mean, it was an origin story, and I mean, you had to kind of backtrack a little too. The other movies had all been set in the present up to that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was also fun because it also built out that back world, and you got to get great references in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. That's what I always liked about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was kind of the damage control story that they never made.
Yeah.
Because it was always Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. have to sweep up the mess. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. are going to reference this thing.
Oh, especially that first season, totally. I thought that's where they were going to go with it, and I'm just like, we're not getting a damage control spinoff? Okay, that's fine then.
I mean, they actually
feel like that?
They did that episode that tied into Thor: The Dark World, where they basically were cleaning up the mess.
Exactly, and damage control didn't come around until Spider-Man, because eventually they realized, after S.H.I.E.L.D. keeps on collapsing and is infiltrated by Hydra, maybe we should let a capitalist handle this. And
hey, man, when in Rome,
yes, give it to our world's greatest capitalist. They'll solve the problem. Yeah. How about you? Yes. Although I got to give that shout out to Peggy Carter, where even she's like, I don't think the world's greatest capitalist is the person to be holding onto these weapons.
Oh, jeez.
Or specifically Cap's blood, just this idea that this guy, yes, I get he is very well respected and we're supposed to be all rah-rah capitalism, but there's some dark stuff here too. So, rewatching Peggy Carter with Maz, there is a lot going on there that it's been very fun to talk
Peggy
about.
Carter, I agree.
Oh, I think she's coming back. We might even see her in the 80s because we know she's alive.
Oh yeah, because they're jumping to the 80s next episode. Yeah,
I would love to see her. She says, "Oh, my husband? Don't worry about my husband."
Oh yeah, reunite her and Sousa. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, that would be neat, and it would also be neat if she's not married in that universe, which would feed into that idea of separate timelines. Where did Cap go back to? We don't know, but like I said, I said this in Super Connectivity. There's going to be a scene at the end where when they get back with Fitz and the time variance of Thor, it's like, no, we can put you back in your origin universe just fine. We had to do that with Steve Rogers a little while ago too.
All right. I'm interested because I gave Lilith the list of a few characters, and she's the one who picked Thor. So Lilith, what did you read?
Well, I read a lot of different things. I think the Beta Ray stuff, the Bill Beta Ray stuff is good. I do, but I don't know. It's hard. Like, it's hard to pin down. Like, Thor stories are fun, but like I never read a story that I could like actually relate to him. Like, I'm just not a Norse mythology fan to begin with. Like, Thor's just not my thing. Yeah. But I just I did it for the spicy hot takes. I'm not gonna lie. I picked Thor for the spicy hot takes. Okay. Because he's problematic. Thor is so problematic.
Well, that's why I think I like the spin-off characters. Because I remember as a kid, I really wasn't really much into Thor. Because I was like, all the thee and thou stuff kind of turns me off. And I wasn't a fan of the mythology either.
God Butcher, I kind of like that one the most.
A more modern take, yes.
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, I actually did read Thor as a kid, and I did like the Norse mythology. I was an mythology nerd, so I actually got a little disappointed when I found out that you mean Norse mythology doesn't follow the Thor comics very well. It's like, no, actually it doesn't. It's like, oh, that's disappointing. Because I mostly got I was a mythology nerd, but like the Marvel Universe's version of mythology. So,
and I mean, I guess it's like when you adapt a book into a movie and stuff, you can't go word for word. And two, it's like, if you follow the mythology, you know how it ends.
Only so much they do in Norse mythology too. So.
Yeah. But speaking of Thor is his side characters, the book I read was Journey into Mystery 85, the first modern appearance of one Loki Laufey's son.
Of course.
This was great. There's this saying about like how the Riddler lives and dies by his writers. You know, that if you have a bad writer writing the Riddler is a very bad character. But like, if you have someone who is like intelligent writing him, he's amazing. And for what it's worth, this was written by Stan Lee. And we have this whole thing where we go to Asgard. I don't know if we've been to Asgard before this, because this is only like a few issues. This is like the third issue after. I don't know if Thor went to Asgard the second issue or not, but we go to Asgard. And they do make a mention of the fact that Thor has not been around for years at this point. Which actually, again, goes to this idea that he was exiled as Donald Blake for a while.
Well, yeah, I'm trying to remember. I think in later stories, I think they say, like, Odin puts Don Blake on Earth, like, at the beginning of medical school or something, I think. Yeah. So, I mean, he's at least gone through medical school, yeah.
Exactly. And there is this great scene where basically Loki's been trapped in a tree and cannot escape until someone sheds a tear for his plight. So he's sitting there in the tree for a few hundred years thinking about, okay, how can I manipulate the language of this? And he eventually takes control of the tree and makes a leaf fall in Heimdall's eye, so that he sheds a tear. Oh. And he shed a tear because Loki could control the tree, and Loki could control the tree because of his plight. Ergo, because of my plight, someone shed a tear. So I love the lawyering. Oh, by the way, can we just take a moment to talk about Heimdall's amazing mustache?
Because he goes full on beard later. Yeah, so what? He's just had a mustache there.
So it's a really nice look for him. And Loki escapes, And I love this because, yes, okay, he's in his full horned hat and all that kind of stuff. But you know what? He goes to Earth, and goes to Earth quite easily, by the way. Looks for where Thor is, sees him at a hospital entertaining kids. Because, when you have the power of a god, that's what you should do. So he just hightails it down the Rainbow Bridge, and he gets there, and bam. That was enough. Look, I'm going to look stupid in my horned hat, so I'm going to wear a green suit and a nice hat. I'm going to make sure I blend in. And, he goes around and asks people,
if you're a pimp.
It was the 60s. And he's a villain, so he has to wear green. And it's a nice foresty green. And he uses it, makes people turn into the negatives of themselves, which I think has got to be a reference to Mr. Negative. And, because Thor starts with antimatter. And then we get, Thor, Don Blake doing this. We get Thor. And there's Loki. Thor doesn't see him, but Loki sees Thor. Thor solves the negative people with antimatter. And then, Loki approaches him. You haven't seen me in a long time. You don't recognize me, do you, Thor? And then, bam! Crack! I'm Loki. They fight. And basically, Loki tricks Thor into fighting him above and angles him so that as he's spinning his hammer, it hypnotizes Thor. So Thor actually hypnotizes himself because hypnotism is the greatest superpower. Loki now controls him, but he doesn't know about the enchantment on Don Blake. So he has Thor get rid of his hammer because he's afraid that if Thor breaks out of his hypnosis while he's holding the hammer, that's going to be problems. Has Thor give a hammer to an image of himself, which again, Loki already using all of his traits. Oh, by the way, I have to just bring this up because I went a little too fast through this. Is Jane Foster? There it is, Jane Foster, Loki. Such a lovely name, and he seems so dashing and romantic. As soon as he shows up, everyone knows Loki can get it. Even with Jane Foster, man. Jane Foster's like, oh, hello, Loki. Nice to see you. But anyway, this is when the enchantment's there. This is an interesting thing about this, too, because they mention it several times. Of course, well, the hammer's on the ground. Everyone's trying to lift it. No one can. But Don Blake turns back into, or Thor turns back into Don Blake, and this is the thing. Don Blake goes to lift it, but he doesn't lift it. He just touches it, and he turns back into Thor, and later, it becomes this issue that, but this is Loki riding pigeons, because, that's how you get away. Just riding a flock of pigeons, yes.
It totally suits him. That's all I'll
say. I don't know if that's like the big reason they got rid of Don Blake, because it was like the 60-second rule. Like if he let go of that hammer for more than 60 seconds, he always turned back to Don Blake.
Yeah, I got very mad that they didn't keep that rule in Fear Itself. So I always thought that would have been the cool thing, is if someone could just get a hammer away from one of the people who had the hammer for like 60 seconds, they would turn back into themselves. This is neat. He uses wind to get himself out of the curtains that Loki made fall on him. But it looks like he's blowing. It looks like he's using like a super breath weapon. So that's an interesting little artistic thing that we get there. Loki just pushes people onto the subway. And this is what's smart, is Thor, he's not Superman. He doesn't just try to stop the train by brute force killing everyone inside. No. He's smart. He goes and he lifts up the tracks so that it just creates so it just raises the train up a bit as it's going through the subway. Hopefully he did the math to make sure that it wasn't going to scrape across the roof. Although most subway platforms are actually very high raised because people have to be in there and they have to breathe. So that's an interesting bit of science from Thor. But, Loki creates a Pegasus, flies to the Statue of Liberty. Thor throws a pipe at him.
Oh, Stan.
Yes, because Loki can't use his powers in water.
A lubricating factor, you say?
Yes, but
oh my,
that's the gag, and and I get the feeling this is one of those things where they say, of course I played along and said, yes, this will hold me. Yes, I can't use my powers because that was all part of my plan. And like years later, you're saying, oh, I wasn't really trapped in your lead vault. I just pretended to because I was planning something even more sinister. But he puts Loki on the hammer. He ties Loki to Mjolnir. throws Loki back to Asgard. Then Mjolnir returns just in time for Thor to catch it, because he says, had he not come back at that time, it would have turned back into he would have turned back into Don Blake, which would have mean Don Blake would have had to have caught the hammer, something Don Blake would not be able to do, suggesting that Don Blake is not in fact worthy, which is interesting. And then you get the whole dreamy Jane Foster. Oh, could you imagine mere mortals like us and seeing the battle of the gods?
Sounds like Jane Foster's more of a groupie. Just saying.
Yeah, she was. You know, honestly, there's reasons why that relationship really didn't work out.
Yeah.
Although them being actually different people kind of makes it less weird than the fact that, you know, Lois has an issue with Clark, but not with Superman, you know. So,
well, it's the Felicia Hardy thing, probably.
Bye, Felicia.
Bye, Felicia. Okay, but that was my book, and like I said, I loved that introduction of Loki. I still want to read the original Loki appearance in Venus, but you know,
it wasn't on Marvel Unlimited.
It's not on Marvel Unlimited. Yeah, I think we've got I think they're more focused on Marvel books, and since that is not a canonical, I mean, it is listed as his first appearance in the Handbook of the Marvel Universe.
Take a drink.
But yeah, it's one of those gray areas. But yes, if you actually look at the old 80s Marvel Universe, back in the 80s, when all Marvel canon is codified and is correct forever, and all later discussions are moot.
Oh, but
okay, excellent.
But no, one of the stories I'd read with actual original Thor was Alone Against the Celestials from Thor 387 through 389. Of course, illustrated by friend of the show, Ron Friends. But no, it's a good story. It's basically Thor trying to defend this planet against, you know, the Celestials are giving it the thumbs down. So he's like, oh, keep this world from getting destroyed. And hey, spoilers, the hammer does get destroyed in this story. So.
You know what? That story is okay, but I feel like the Eternal Saga was a little bit more engaging for me. In comparison, I think it's a very fair comparison between those two story arcs.
I mean, I think that's kind of, I like original Thor, like when he's interacting, or like you get like a tour of like more cosmic side of the Marvel universe, like Celestials or Eternals. Or,
yeah, it just kind of makes sense for him to be there.
Yeah. Just him.
Yeah.
Yeah, showing you the more cosmic side of the Marvel universe. Yeah.
Well, and you know, for what it's worth, even back in that Thor story I read there is almost the suggestion of Asgard as a physical place rather than another dimension, because he literally throws Mjolnir to Asgard, which I think helped Marvel when they were trying to create these stories in actually saying, well, what if Asgard is a physical place? You know, and you know, great way to just thread that needle, just like a rich man getting into heaven. You know, to get that Chinese market and said, no, aliens, man. You guys like aliens, don't you?
Yeah.
Aliens aren't magic. That's just, you know, aliens.
Although they kind of played with that in the 90s in the comics, though, too. It's like, yeah, they claim they're gods, but it's like basically they're just like these aliens who like came to Earth back in the day, and the humanity worshipped them as gods. You know.
I believe that's more Stargate flair, but yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's Chariots of the Gods. That's from the 70s, really. So that became, and I think, honestly, I don't know where Jack Kirby falls on the Alien Gods thing. I know later writers definitely lead into it.
It was in the 90s. What was it, Warren Ellis, maybe? Or
yeah. I mean, the Chariots of the Gods, which was a very popular book, I'll say that. I'm sure that's, it probably had about as good of archaeology as the Crystal Skull movie. So,
not saying it was aliens, but it was aliens.
Yes.
But yeah, I just love when Thor gets all cosmic and stuff, but also you can have just like fun knockdown slugfest with like I remember an issue of him fighting the Hulk. There was an issue of him fighting Hyperion. I mean, it's just you can also just get a 22-page boxing match too.
Well, and that's also kind of cool with Thor, and that's the advantage of being in that cosmic realm. Is suddenly we can let loose, as I never get to let loose. This is fun for me.
They hit their stride for the character.
Oh yeah.
So that's awesome. And the Celestials, it's kind of one of the most interesting things I think in the current MCU that we have Ego called out as a Celestial.
Yeah.
And suggesting that Celestials, for all their stoic cosmic grandeur, actually have real internal lives. And that, these Celestials may have something going on. So,
I mean, I guess
I'm looking forward to the Eternals and seeing what the Celestials wind up being.
I mean, I guess since they're movie characters, you have to give them a motivation, because in the comics, it's just like, oh, these mysterious space giants show up and, they either deem your planet worthy or unworthy, and, they kill the planet.
Rick and Morty can do it in 18 minutes, 22 minutes. Movie can do it. It's
True.
Yeah. Well, what I think is interesting about the Celestials is the fact that, they don't just come to a random planet and say, oh, you made sex, we destroyed it. They say, okay, this is a neat planet. Let's see what we can get to happen here. And then they create Eternals, and then what they do is they will create Eternals in that universe. They will create Deviants in that universe, and then they will leave one group to just evolve. And we see that with what they did to the Skrulls, where all of the Skrulls, the shapeshifting, that is a deviant power that they had gathered, but there were Skrull Eternals as well. And so when the Skrulls merge, and that's why their gods are the Eternal Skrull and I forget what they call her, but she is the mother of all Skrulls, and she is the formless one, because she can become anything, so she is always changing what she is. Really cool. I love the Skrull mythology. It pained me when Thor killed. Was it Thor or was it Hercules? I forget if it was Thor or Hercules who killed the Skrull gods in Secret Invasion. I think it was Thor. Or maybe he had a whole team of other deities to go, because that was the idea. It's like, well, we're the gods of this earth. Let's go kick some Skrull god butt. And they did, and that was the big, because it was a semi-mystical thing that the Skrulls were doing, which also goes into this idea of, like Thor, that yes, it's mystical, but there is a scientific explanation, but that science is very heavily weighted onto the realm of magic. The fact that the doors in this universe are these green doors, if you will, swing both ways.
Hell.
Which, as the Ghostbusters taught us, doors swing both ways. We can open the door. If we cross the streams, maybe we can close the door. Crossing the stream. Why do you?
You were saying swings both ways, crossing streams.
Okay, first the doors do swing both ways.
Have you not figured that out in 164 hours?
Comedy, Charlie. Yes, sir. Comedy.
Okay. Can't wait for 5 more episodes.
I'm giving you guys homework for that. Don't you worry.
Yes.
I was going to say.
We just talk about Cap and his girl in every port.
Whoa.
I really want to go through the love life of Captain America. Me.
I was going to say, Lil Hellfire can plan that whole thing,
You got Peggy, you got Bernie, you got Ferrari.
Your 69th issue. Your favorite 69th issue. That's it.
Oh, okay.
I have 5.
569s, damn.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, I'll do my homework.
I gotta find a 69th issue.
So to count.
You'll be surprised if you just think about the books that you.
Now we're gonna go by originally. We're gonna go by legacy numbering or volume numbering.
However, you need to play fast and loose with the rules. It's Kate.
And it could be 169, 269, 369.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Okay, I think I can work with this. So I'll get that up and running in 5 episodes.
But no,
fortunately, I have Marvel Unlimited.
Yes. We sold at least 2 subscriptions to that. So hey, Marvel, call us.
Yeah, well,
Ray and Charlie got Marvel Unlimited for this podcast. Thank you.
Honestly, I've been using it, and
I know you have.
Yeah, that was the thing. Is DC, because I only like obscure DC books. The DC universe wasn't worth it to me. The Marvel universe really is, because I like all Marvel books. Gonna go maybe read some Shang-Chi later, just for the fun of it, just because I can.
Marvel books are the best.
Well, I like them. There are different people like different things.
First of all, Archie's the best, and all of y'all can just shut the hell up.
There's my drop.
Yeah, well, I mean, yes, if you know, okay.
Especially in this day and age where it's just like everything's just, it's too much. Sometimes you just want simpler things. And to laugh at a redheaded guy, and watch a dude in a crown eat a hamburger. Like, it's not that serious all the time.
All right.
Fair enough.
All right.
Until they're vampires.
All right, Charlie.
And even that's fun.
All right, silence, Charlie. Lilith, I need the drop. Say, keep it simple, stupid.
Keep it simple, stupid.
There we go. Oh, but
I hate you so much, Philip. I hate you
I love you too. Charlie, I was going to say, if they want to bring back Asgard in the MCU, that could be like a backdoor for Fantastic Four, because in some of the late 80s, late 80s, early 90s comics, Asgard actually was like set adrift and like it ended up in the negative zone.
Oh. Well, and
because there was like a story.
You can't put it all on Black Panther's shoulders, so yeah, sure, why not?
I mean, there was at least one or two stories where a nihilist came. Like there was one of the early Eric Masterson stories. Like he kidnapped Odin because Odin was in one of his many Odin sleeps, and he took a fraction of Odin's godlike abilities for that cosmic control rod.
Yeah, I will say this. I am not a fan of the Fantastic Four has just been lost for 50 years or 20 years or whatever. I like the idea that the Fantastic Four just had other problems to fight. It's like, well, why did you drop out with Thanos? Oh, you didn't hear about Galactus? Yeah, we were fighting Galactus on the moon at that time. So, yeah, we figured you said, oh, what, someone's attacking Earth? Whoa. Well, there's some...
So many of you guys down there.
Yeah, there were like 5 of you, we're 4, we had a Galactus to fight, and still no one was there when Ego was smashing everything. I'm still mad we never got a cleanup scene of what was it, Montana or Missouri, after the Ego blob.
What on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Yeah, it's like
cleaning up
all that ego matter.
Cleaning up that Dairy Queen.
And not for nothing, if what we have learned from, and that's the thing, if what we learned in Guardians of the Galaxy, where they're mining the head of the Celestial, that stuff is valuable. All that ego goo, and although here's the thing, all the ego goo is now everywhere, which means the Collector may have no longer has his exclusive rights on mining rights on this stuff. So he's got to be scrambling right now.
Okay, just to throw in a plug for our Patreon Starfleet All Access show. I saw the beginning of Star Trek 3 last night. It was on TV, and Sarek does a mind meld with Kirk, and all I could hear was Charlie Esther. He's putting his claw on him. He's putting his claw on him.
Well, in that case, Sarek is actually taking. He's actually taking the Ka out. For once.
Well, no,
he's taking it out. He's pulling out, people. It's leaving the station.
Oh, he's putting it back into his. Well, that was Spock's own Ka.
Well, he was doing it with Kirk, so he thought, Spock's whatever was in Kirk. Phrasing. Yeah. But I just saw the mind meld, and I was just like, oh.
Yeah.
And as a fan fiction person, I really do appreciate, the Spock Kirk fanfic. I'm just saying, some of the first /fic you can really sink your teeth into.
Oh, Spock and Kirk, Spurk.
Yeah, I think they call it Spurk.
Spurk or
Sparking it.
Oh, those.
Yeah, because if you do it the other way, it's not as good.
It's not as friendly.
Oh,
yeah. Sure.
Yeah. I get the feeling it was the other way in some of them.
I definitely, if I was to be the person to go back in time and invent Star Trek /fic, it would definitely be the other way around. So if you ever see it happen, it becomes more popular. I figured out time travel, people.
Yes, but Starfleet All Access. If you pay us money, you can listen to us talk about where you can stick your Ka. And
consensually, of course.
Of course.
All Ka exchanges should be consensual, but sadly they often are not. And in fact, the two biggest Kas we see getting shoved around are non-consensual Ka implantations. So, and all for the benefit of the guy who's putting the Ka there. That's what I'm going to say. It's it's not really in Bones' best interest to have Spock's Ka shoved up in him.
Just throwing bones in there makes it so much better.
Oh, I watched Star Trek Enterprise's first 2 episodes. I was just like, it's worse than I remembered. No!
Yeah, the time travel. They opened with time travel.
Poor Scott
I don't even know
Bakula.
why that was.
Poor Scott Bakula. He deserved
Why?
better.
Well, because it was Scott Bakula.
He deserved better.
Yeah,
He deserved better.
They're like, the kids love you, time traveling Scott Bakula. It's like, that was what I did in my last show. I don't want to time travel. I want to travel
You're typecast. Deal with it, Bakula.
You're a time traveler, Bakula. That's your job. Cash the paycheck and get out of my office.
All right, Lilith, is there any other Thor you want to bring up?
Honestly, movie Thor is the best Thor. Where's my Thor merchandise? How come he doesn't have merchandise like everybody else? He's always like in like the compilation T-shirt, or I only have like 2 T-shirts that are just like solo Thor. Like, it's weird. He's an Avenger. Put some respect on that.
Well, because usually when they do Thor merch, it's usually comic book Thor merch.
Yeah.
Because Marvel gets all the money.
It's fine. Give me that. And it's not a lot of it around at this moment. It has been for a few years.
You think they're getting ready to? You think they're getting ready to?
Really.
You think they're getting ready to rev up the Jane Foster Thor merchandise though again?
I don't want the Jane Foster Thor merchandise.
Yeah, but
does he have a Funko? Because if it is, it must be pretty rare and hard to find.
What?
No, Thor has lots of Funkos.
America, Funko. I can get a Black Widow who's just now getting her own movie Funko. I'm just.
I guess you know what? It's entirely possible that they have Thor as they're designed in they're designed in collectibles. So if you see that Thor merch, buy up that Thor merch because that is pre-collectivized.
Yes, I mean
because that's the one they said you.
Because all the other Avengers do have their own solo stuff, both movie and.
Well, yeah. But the thing is, the demand is so high for Iron Man stuff that they don't lose out on that collectible market. But if you pick, okay, you know what? Thor is going to be the guy that we're always going to have as our collectible market. Because you got to keep something being rare in order that people still buy these things. That's the thing. You have to.
Honestly, for me, if I don't see it, I just stop looking for it. That's just me. There's too many other things to collect.
Yeah. So. But and to be fair, the collection market is about rarity. That's what it's about. And if you're going to have the rarity, you have to make sure that something stays rare. And so you sometimes they do that with just, we'll put a variant of it, or we'll do this with it or that with it. But in general, what they do is or what they can do, and what maybe that's what they figured out with Thor is, we'll just always make Thor a rare item. So you won't be able to get Thor.
They're like, I can't have my favorite guy. I have to go on eBay and spend 5 times as much. No, I'm just gonna.
You just have to go to Walmart. If you were a real toy collector, Lilith, you would know, like Tristan knows.
Shots fired.
You would know, like Tristan knows, where all of the special editions are being released. You would go and find out who's got it, and then you would track it down.
That. They don't do that for Thor.
Get that limited edition.
I never see it for Thor. That's all that I'm saying.
Okay. Yeah, well, like I said, I don't know why.
It's just an odd choice.
I looked
I'll say maybe he's doing better than Gamora, because Gamora wasn't even on the original Guardians of the Galaxy t-shirts. So.
All right,
she has her own t-shirts though.
I looked.
I've seen them at Walmart.
They basically have Funkos for every version of movie Thor, so you can find any of those. There is like a Funko for classic comic Thor. There is a Funko for that. There's even a Beta Ray Bill Funko.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, that one went real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it's not even that it's a rarity for Thor. Maybe they make as many Thors as anybody, but his are just always the ones that get sold out first. And because all of these Funkos are like numbered, that because everyone thinks, they don't have a lot of Thors because the Thors keep on getting. Well, because for what it's worth, there's not a lot of Thor variants.
Oh, they even have
there's like 6 costumes for Spider-Man.
No, they even have.
And then there's like 6 other Spider-Men who each have 6 other costumes. And then, we're going to make a Gwenpool Venom, a Gwenom Spider-Gwen, and then we'll Venomize Gwenom. And, you have that whole thing where other things, you can make out multiple versions.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. It's just like, it's not, you know what I mean? It's not a lot of variant. Like, where everybody else, it's like 90 of them. It's crazy.
Yeah, but that's because he's Thor.
But also his T-shirts, like mostly, let's be real, T-shirts. That's what I care about on a daily basis. I need my nerd gear. Let's get on that. I need more Thor T-shirts.
Yeah, Thor is almost always a classic Kirby Thor.
Yeah.
Yes,
and
that's true.
I think that's mostly because that's the old school. And I think what it goes down to is it's, unlike Superman, where as he's evolved, he's gotten more popular. I think Thor is always seen in that classic 60s Kirby design. That's the one people want because that's the original version of Thor. Beardless Thor.
So I'm stuck with my 2 Thor T-shirts is what you're telling me. That's fine.
Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much. And it's probably always that same
It is.
pose.
It's the same picture on a different color shirt. It's the dark like purpley blue one, and then it's the black one. Everybody who knows what I'm talking about probably like, yeah.
Yeah, no, there is one image of Thor, and that could also be some Kirby licensing issues, I don't know. But then you'd think, well, why don't we use some of our older Thors? But I think none of them ever got the image.
If we get more Jane Foster Thor merch than we have regular Thor merch, I'm going to be upset. That's all I'm saying.
Well, we'll have to see what happens.
Oh, hey, guess what? Would anyone like to hear some Ray feedback?
Oh, yes. We always want Ray feedback.
Yeah. I told him we were doing Thor, and he was like, oh, I'm going to send in feedback. All right. So, yes, let's see what Ray has to say about the Mighty Thor, our Skrull friend.
Hello, Phil and Lilith. And I'm not sure if Charlie is on board for this
episode,
but hello, Charlie, if you are. This is Ray, and I thought I'd just give my thoughts to the Mighty Thor, which you guys will be covering in this cool episode. A great idea. Look, I'm not a huge, big Thor fan, but I have come across his comics many times, so I'm just going to give you my thoughts on some memorable runs that I have gone through, some issues that I really do like, and the first one is like an early one. It's Thor. It's a couple of issues, 165 to 166. I think it's a Stan Lee, Jack Kirby run, and the big thing that happened there was the introduction to Adam Warlock / him.
Oh yeah,
he's only known as him there, so you kind of get the origin of him being like a biological kind of experiment to be used for evil use, but he kind of escapes and gains sentience. Then he goes up into space and cocoons himself to explore other areas. He comes back down and he tries to kidnap Sif, who at this stage Thor was an item with. Anyway, Thor he really cracks it, and he doesn't. He gets really mad. Actually, one of the many times you see Thor almost go berserker rage. Anyway, so he flies into a rage and he fights him. And they pretty much come to a standstill, which is quite impressive of him because he's meant to be kind of invincible. Anyway, the fight ends in him cocooning himself again and floating off into space. So a little bit of a stalemate there, but a really fun issue. A couple of issues from the Legends of Stan Lee, Jack Kirby. The next kind of run I really like is I've already kind of forgotten the numbers. Let me hear. Oh yeah, Thor 387 to 389. So that's basically a 3-parter. Another big. It's all about Thor and who he fights for me, basically. And in this case, this was a good one. This was around the time of The Captain. So I know you guys are covering the US Agent Origin and Captain America.
We're the same
assuming
person.
Another identity. So this is around the same time, 1988. So Thor 387 to 389, and it's when he battles a Celestial, like 2 Celestials actually. He's on another planet, and he comes across Arishem, who's kind of like the judge or the evaluator, and Exeter, who is the executioner.
Who's
like,
bigger than the first one.
Huge Celestial. We're talking, size of 100, skyscrapers. Anyway, so pretty impressive. Thor takes on the Celestials, and he goes as far as to actually make a slight impression on Exeter. He battles through his body, because he kind of cracks the armor.
Yeah,
so
he
he
gets
goes
in that
within
armor.
the body. It's really a non-corporal kind of body, but it still seems to be humanoid because he gets attacked by a lot of antibodies, stuff like that. But he finds the brain of Exeter, and he summons the God Force, which is a culmination of Thor's life plus Mjolnir, the power. Very, very powerful. We'll see it later on in a couple of my other picks. And he actually makes Exeter stumble. Doesn't kill him because his Celestial is too big. Anyway, huge battle. One of the big things here is that Mjolnir gets destroyed. And I remember being quite... it's like, whoa, that's pretty damn big. By the end of the arc, by 389, it's returned. The Celestials returned basically everything back to like a reboot, reset to the world, because they're there to destroy this planet, Pangoria, I think. And anyway, they don't really want to kill everyone. They want to kill the unworthies and just kind of rejuvenate the world. So they do that, and they rejuvenate Thor. But a really fun 3-issue run. Next little of my thing is, I don't know, I love the old classic Acts of Vengeance. So Thor, the Mighty Thor, 411 and 412. This is Nothing Can Stop the Juggernaut. These were my favourite issues, pitting Thor against the mighty brother of Charles Xavier, Cain Marco. Brilliant stuff here. And again, as I mentioned, Thor has to summon the God Force again, and he actually stops the Juggernaut, which is amazing because the Juggernaut's unstoppable. So I remember being in awe at those issues. Later on, also 412, there is guest starring the new Warriors.
I think it's their first appearance.
So Night Thrasher, Namorita, Marvel Boy, Firestar, all those kind of all that crew. So that was a lot of fun as well. I really loved that. They end up kind of banishing Juggernaut to another dimension just to stop him. So that's done by Thor's hammer at the end. So that was a really cool battle. And finally, I'm going to go something a little left of field. The Incredible Hercules, a great run by Greg Pak.
He loves Hercules.
Fred Van Lente. Issues 132 to about 136. It's actually when Hercules assumes the identity of Thor, because he's going up against the elves, and the plan is that they fear nothing more than Thor. So Hercules dresses up as Thor, and what is really funny is that Thor catches wind of this, and so he dresses up as Hercules, and they have a battle between the two, kind of very comical. There's a lot of there's a couple of nipple cripples there, and I think a couple of shots at the crotch. Pretty funny stuff. I love Hercules, and it's great to see these two gods kind of go at it. So those are my picks of the Mighty Thor. There's so much to kind of plunder in his history. Also want to give a little shout out to the return of the Incredible Hulk, the TV movie. That was another fantastic appearance of Thor that I loved. The thing I kept on replaying when I was young was when he throws Mjolnir at the Hulk, and the Hulk smashes into the machinery behind him. Thor celebrates, and the Hulk just kind of charges at him. And I just remember the line, "I think I've made him angry." And then you see a shot of Thor just get smashed through a pane of glass. Very fun stuff. A lot of good Thor. So I'm actually reading a lot more Thor. I've read him in the Avengers as well. Phil, you've recommended Thunderstrike. I want to read that, albeit Eric Masterson. But yeah, this should be fun. I can't wait to hear what you guys love about Thor, what runs you love, as well as the TV and potentially movies. So yep, I'll hear with bated breath. Catcha.
Thank you, Ray. No, if you like Thor impersonations, I think it's Thunderstrike 10. I just read it last night. It's funny because there's some criminal running around pretending to be Thor and basically just poo-pooing on the name of Thor. He's basically just like robbing banks on armored cars and stuff. And so Thor's nowhere around, so Eric Masterson dresses up like Thor to say, "Oh no, that's not the real Thor. I'm Thor." And it's just humorous, him trying to do the Asgardian speak, because he's just like, "Beware, yawn." He's like, "I shall clobber you, yawn varlet." He's like, "Varlet? Wait, what?" He's like, "Did I say that right?"
Beautiful. Oh, and hey, let's give a quick shout out to Batman Volume 1, 127, first appearance of Thor in the DC universe.
Oh.
I won't go into it, but yeah, it's a fun book. If you have that DC Universe app, look it up. You'll be able to say, yes, DC did it first. Which I know you DC fans like to do. So Batman 127 Volume 1.
Like
enjoy
Marvel
it.
fans don't try the same shenanigans.
Oh, we do it too. I'm the first to do it, please. But I wanted to give the DC fans listening a little gift that they can go track down and be happy about.
Well, Ray just gave us another gift, Philip. Well, that's pretty damn big. Please incorporate into the drop machine. Thank you.
I made a note of it. And since he sent me the feedback in the email, yes, I have clean audio of him. So yes.
Yay!
Oh no, I was on that.
That's what we do it for now. We only do this for the drops, apparently.
Oh no, well, if we think alike, yes, I heard second I heard that. But no, I love Ray, man. Like if you could like make a clone of the three of us, it would be Ray.
Yeah.
Seriously. I mean, him and I are the same age, and we've basically read the same 90s Marvel stuff, and he loves the Incredible.
Best boys.
What the F?
All right.
So on that note.
All right. So
on that note.
Yes. Send in your favorite Thor in comics, movies, TV. Your favorite Thor merch. Send it to Lilith.
Yeah. At me.
Or any other characters you want to do deep dives on. I still want to get the Hulk and Iron Man, but email us, capesandlunatics@gmail.com. Call the voicemail 614-382-2737. That's 614-38-CAPES. And remember to follow Capes and Lunatics on Facebook, because you can watch this video right there on the Capes and Lunatics Facebook page. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, the YouTube channel, it's all there, all in one convenient place. That's Linktree, linktr.ee/capesandlunatics. And remember to support our sponsors, Tweaked Audio, Hunt a Killer, Pod Life the book. Go pick it up, Volume 1, because Volume 2 is in the works. I believe there's going to be, Volume 2 is going to have a chapter by that young man who was with us before, Mr. Tyler Patrick. All right. So, and when you go on Amazon, because you know you all do, use the link for Southgate Media Group right down there in the show notes. Help support this show, the network, and that crazy madman, Rob Master Doom Southgate, help pay for his new projector.
Go back and look at my history, and you will find out I am right so much more often than I'm wrong. Mark my words.
Lilith Hellfire.
If you guys want to hail me on the interwebs, I don't know why you would, but if you want to, you can find me on Twitter @Lilith Hellfire, or on Instagram with all the cool kids that hip grandpas @Lilith Hellfire 86 or @Lilith Hellfire 69. Go ahead, throw it in.
Charlie Esser.
Well, if you'd like to write to me in an old-fashioned email way the way our moms and pods wants to do so at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, @gmail.com. Of course, follow me on the Twitter site live tweet Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Wednesday nights at 10 p.m. when I stay up that late or I don't fall asleep halfway through it, @Charlie Esser. That's CHARLIESSER. Look for the 2 E's in the middle.
For quality.
Bing! Did we call out our sponsors?
Yes.
We did? Okay. Just making sure.
Just making sure.
Kind of early for the apple juice, Esser.
Well, I ran out of soda pop.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
It's 4th of July, baby.
America! That's right,
Count
everyone.
your fingers, people.
Lilith. Anyway, for another week, we have been your Capes.
Ampersand.
Lunatics.
Yea, verily. I so would have bet money that Charlie Esser was going to bring up War Thor, but I guess not.
War Thor? Oh,
Volstagg.
My goodness, I didn't even think of Volstagg.
There's so many treasures just buried in the history.
I know. Well, see, Volstagg is...
Oh, no.
Volstagg. Love me some Volstagg.
How many episodes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. are left?
Not enough.
Talk about your Ragnarok, am I right?
This episode of
Rock and roll in the 80s.